Coming up on All About Android, it's me, Jason Howell. We got Ron Richards and Florence Ion. They're back. They missed last week, but it's so good to have them back. Also, our guest, Damian Wild from 9 to 5 Google. We talk Android 12 Beta 4, Google's Find My network that's actually coming along. I review the Pixel 5a with 5G. Flo goes hands-on with the Galaxy Z Flip 3. Damian goes ears-on with the Nothing Ear 1. Plus, your email and a whole lot more coming up next on All About Android.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Hello and welcome to All About Android, episode 538, recorded on Tuesday, August 17th, 2021, your weekly source for the latest news, hardware, and apps for the Android faithful. We never throw in, feedback in there. That's kind of like the fourth rung on the ladder. But anyways.
Community, maybe community instead of feedback.
Community. Yeah, that works too. I'm Jason
Fellowship. That was a popular word in church camp.
Fellowship. The fellowship of the droids.
Oh, there you go. Oof, man, we might already have a title.
Yeah.
One robot to rule them all.
Yeah.
Good job.
And with that, I'm Ron Richards.
And I'm Florence Ion. I'm wearing a collar today.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, nice collar. If I was wearing a collar, I'd pop it, but I'm not. Not today, anyways. It's good to have you guys back. Missed you last week.
It's good to be back. Last week was a week, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to be on this week. Jason, I'm so mad I missed the Samsung event with you last week. We were supposed to do it together, and my little guy.
Wait, that was last week?
That was last week. Yeah, that was last week.
This is the world we live in technology right now. Yeah, it missed you on that too. It went fine. You know,
I gotta say, I know we're going to talk about it later on, but I got $500 burning a hole in my pocket for a flip phone, I think.
Oh, do you? 500 might
That's
not get
tempting.
you.
500.
But anyway.
But that would only get you half of a flip. It would only get you half of the screen.
No, is it at $499?
It's 1,000.
The other one's
I think you're thinking of the Pixel 5a, right?
No. I got a Facebook ad saying that. Wait a minute.
You know what? They're really trying to get to push people towards trading stuff in, and they're like, trade in whatever you got around you. You'll get up to 500 off.
I wonder what it was.
Guess.
Yeah, it was telling. Yeah. Oh wow, it is 1,000. Yeah, it was
it's
telling
1,000.
me you get it for from $499 with trade in. That's what it is.
Yep.
That's was the ad that I saw. Yep. Yeah.
All right.
Wow.
Maybe you have something to trade in. I mean, do you really need that other phone?
You've got stuff around your house.
I'm not on Verizon, but apparently on Verizon, if you pre-order, you get up to $500 off.
Oh, well,
so
I guess then you have to ask yourself, is it worth it enough to switch to Verizon? Not that Verizon's bad coverage, but you just might not like the
Interesting.
network.
New and existing Google Fi subscribers can get $400 off the Galaxy Z Flip.
I saw that.
They really want the Galaxy Z Flip to be $500. They really want it. They're throwing everything.
So do we. Deep inside.
Yeah, so do we. Yeah,
deep down,
manifest
that's what we all want, really.
You got to manifest that price.
Joining us, it's taken us a long time to bring you into the show, and I apologize.
Sorry.
Damian Wild from 9 to 5 Google. It's great to have you on here, sacrificing your sleep for Android.
Joy to be here as well. You say this every time, but the sleep does not matter. We're only young once, so we're going to make the most of it. We're going to enjoy the time we have with our friends across the pond. That's what I tell myself anyway.
I feel the same way. I feel the same way when people on the East Coast invite me to hang out at 7 a.m. their time.
Right. No, that's true. That's true.
Just stick to
one time Ron invited me to virtual breakfast at 7 a.m. It's 4 a.m. my time.
I figured with your child, you'd be up anyway. So there it is.
Well, David, it's great to get you on. No matter the time of day, it's always the right time for Damian Wild. That's what I say. That's what's printed on my T-shirt. You just can't see it.
You're the only one then. My girlfriend definitely wouldn't have that printed on her T-shirt. So
I'll have to box it up and send it to her. Then she has no choice. It's good to have you here. Real quick before we dive into the show, I just want to point out one of the threads on last week's show that we had a lot of fun with was OnePlus's promotional tweet where they alluded to with the image that there was going to be a dual screen phone on the eve of Samsung's Unpacked event. And we kind of went through all the different scenarios. And I think at the end of the day, we landed on, this is totally a prank. Like, it's not going to be a foldable. What the heck are they going to do? And sure enough, it was not real. It was totally a prank. OnePlus is good at this. It was a trick, 50% off sale. So basically what they're showing there are two phones because you could buy one, get one free.
Is OnePlus good at this? Because it sounds to me like you're telling us that OnePlus did something bad, which is that it hijacked people's already precious time in preparation for this very massive event. And we know how big Samsung events are. Like it's live blog worthy. And they hijacked it in a PR play to have their name stay in the press.
And what's wrong with that? That's good marketing.
You're right, Ron. That's one angle to take on it. But the other angle is, was it really necessary? I want to know how many phones they sold because of that prank.
I bet they sold some. What they did is they got the word out that it's 50% off sale, and I guarantee you they sold phones at half off. And there was more awareness around it because of that, no question. Damien, what do you think? How do you feel about this?
My initial thought genuinely was that it was two OnePlus 9 Pros, not the standard OnePlus 9 taped together. It kind of fits with the way that OnePlus would do their normal marketing kind of thing. I kind of agree that to an extent that it's a little bit shady doing that at the expense of another brand. But OnePlus doesn't have the same customer base as Samsung anyway, so I feel like it's maybe their edgy sort of clientele that would maybe cotton onto that or kind of like tag onto that. Yeah, it's a tough one because obviously Samsung is still going to take the majority of the headline space over the course of the 24 hours that the deal was set to run from. But it is genius marketing in a lot of ways. And then in other ways, it's not great, is it? So,
well, and that's kind of the OnePlus marketing kind of playbook, right? Is okay, that was smart, but I don't have a good taste in my mouth about it. Like, I guess it was smart. There's nothing like that says you can't do that, but should you?
I mean, they were trolling, and
they're good at trolling.
They're good at trolling, and
are they good at trolling? Are they good at it?
I don't know. That was pretty effective troll.
Maybe.
Maybe. We've been talking about it for 5 minutes.
Yeah, true.
Right? Like, we just gave them a lot of airtime.
Yeah, exactly. There's other things that we could talk about.
I feel like they duped a lot of people. I think people thought that it was going to be maybe not a device, at least like an accessory, like the LG flip phones of the last 2 or 3 years. But that's a big deal, isn't it? Like if OnePlus can kind of garner those column inches, they keep growing every year. I mean, it's incremental growth is still massive by OnePlus's standards, but it's sure. Is it good? I can't decide. I'm kind of on the fence with it. It is good marketing, but it's not good marketing at the same time.
Yeah.
It's not like, I understand trying to build a buzz around the name. I understand it's a marketing play, but maybe like next time, let your press friends know. Just a marketing ploy. You don't have to newsblast it.
But that's not the. I know. They want this
I understand, Ron. Right? I understand. Yeah, I'm making this personal. I'm purposefully making this personal, so we can move on, and then I can bring a personal touch to everything else that we're gonna.
Were you on the hook, Flo, for writing about this for Gizmodo?
No, I wasn't.
Okay,
no, I wasn't,
at least there's that. You were.
But I could feel the collective groans coming from the entirety of the U.S. tech media. When I saw that tweet go, I was like, solidarity.
We're going here. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that wasn't even the news. We haven't even started the news. So
look how much they get. I'm just.
I know it's true.
It works
every time. I even said that last week. I said I'm really good at falling for this stuff, but I can't help it.
Line and sinker.
Hook, line, and sinker. Yep. That's why it ends up in the show. Anyways, it's also fun to talk about, even if they got away with it.
Even if we're kvetching, correct.
Yes. Yeah, there we go. All right, Burke, we've given you plenty of preamble. It's time for the news. The real news. Android news.
Well, that summed it up pretty much. There you go. All right. Well, let's.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. We'll do it again.
Okay. It's on loop,
I'm all
apparently.
for it. Yeah.
It never stops. Always breaking.
It's never ending. Android news is always happening. And as such, wow. The Android 12 and Android 12 beta marches on. We are close to the end, people. Android 12 Beta 4 was released last week, and it is the first platform stability release, which means that the APIs are finalized so developers can start locking in their apps. We're getting close to release, everybody. Android 12 is coming, whether you like it or not. Damien, you did a great breakdown of the new features, and here's just a quick, some highlights from it. Settings page makeovers that follow the system-wide dynamic color, the phone indicator chip in status bar, new game dashboard that we heard about with gaming features like Do Not Disturb, Screen Record, and FPS counter. Pixel Launcher has a Material U themed Google search bar, adaptive charging tweaks, and of course, the official Android 12 Easter egg that shows off the dynamic theming engine of Material U. You go to settings and then about phone, Android version, tap it repeatedly, and you can see the Easter egg, which is fun. There it is.
Okay, and then there we go. Now we got it.
There it is. It's a clock.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay. And then
that's an Easter egg.
How do you get the wallpaper to do its thing, Damien? I can't remember.
You need to put both of those hands, the minute and the hour hands to 12. 12 or
okay.
Midnighters. Yes.
There it is.
There we go. Oh, that's
it's
pretty.
automatically themed based upon your wallpaper and the entire dynamic color theming, which I think is quite cool. It's not the most in-depth of Easter eggs, but it's a nice little touch. Yeah. I think that make quite a nice wallpaper, to be quite honest.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
It's the good color array. I like the
I like with all of the functional changes in this latest build, we're looking at the pretty colors and circles.
Look, sometimes it's the Easter eggs that are the funnest part.
Yeah.
But there is a little bad news with this release. There's a VPN bug that makes the phone pretty much unusable with a VPN running. So hopefully they fix that before they release it.
Yeah, really hope they fix that.
Yeah, but so Damien, you've had some time with it. You did this great write-up. What are your thoughts of Beta 4?
Apart from the instabilities with the VPN,
yeah, that aside.
I'm a VPN. I use a VPN all the time, so it's kind of like made it such that I'm gonna have to switch to my Pixel 4a running Android 11 for a little while. But apart from that, it's probably less stable than the third release, the third beta releases. In terms of like the actual usability and things like that, but the little extra tweaks that they've made are really kind of pulling it all together, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the next. I believe there's 2 more betas planned, and then the stable release in and around September time. But so far, I've really enjoyed Android 12. I didn't think I would at first, but all of the changes kind of make a lot of sense to really differentiate from the age-old stock Android that we've all kind of come to know and I'd say get comfortable with, but it just kind of now feels like this new beast with all of these associated extras and the tweaks that we've kind of come to know, but just with a new veneer and all. I really love the material theming. I think it's phenomenal in terms of for a change. It really does tie everything together a little bit better than probably it did previously. But yeah, I can definitely see there's going to be a lot of like polarization from fans as to how they kind of adapt to it straight away anyway. But I hope it goes well, especially with Pixel 6 coming up. But I guess time will tell.
I think Pixel 6 is going to be the perfect kind of launch for it because, there's a lot of new happening with the Pixel 6 where there wasn't a lot of new that happened with the Pixel 5 or even really the Pixel 4 necessarily. And now we're at this point where Google's going all in on their high-end premium phone with the brand new OS and their brand new, system on a chip on the inside. It's just a lot of new, and so I'm really looking forward.
Brand new OS with a brand new interface, right? With Material U. Yeah, it definitely is a, we've described these previous moments in times as either like, chapter breaks or just continuations of the chapter. And it feels like we're in a moment that is a chapter break into a new, kind of a new era for Pixel and Android.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. Definitely feels that way.
Just to follow up on something Damien said earlier, actually, this beta 4 is the one that's platform stability. So it should be the last one before the full release.
And yet it's less stable than 3. So
it seems that way. I think the platform stability though is for developers' purposes. There's still going to be some little changes that are going to come in. I think there's 2 more planned. I think there's 2 more.
Yeah, there's 2 more
potentially planned. 2 more
okay.
potentially
Sorry,
planned.
I didn't see that timeline.
But the platform stability is for the developer side of things. So all of the APIs are in place. Developers can kind of like target those APIs now.
You're right.
For the
Candidate and final release.
Yeah.
Right.
Guys, I gotta tell you, this thing the beta is so unstable on the Pixel 5 that I'm using. Like I can barely get any app to launch from the home screen. It's kind of just been dormant too because I've been busy with Samsung stuff, but.
And you're on the beta 4, right? Not the beta 3?
Yep, I'm on beta 4 on the Pixel 5, and it's just
I had some random issues with 3. 4 has seemed to kind of take care of a lot of the issues. But then I also had that issue early on in the betas where I put it on the 5 and nothing worked for me. And the only thing that I could do at that point was actually do a factory reset because I kind of just moved everything over, into the beta instead of like starting fresh. And once I started fresh, it was fine. So that might be the case with you too.
Maybe I'll
because I'm not encountering that.
Sorry to interrupt. Yeah, I kind of do that every single time I start from scratch with the beta phase or the preview phase. But for some reason, I'm kind of having the same issues as Flo with the fact that I can't open certain applications. I can't open Tidal. I can't open YouTube Studio. I can't open YouTube sometimes.
Can't open YouTube
the application it'll just open and then crash. This release has been the worst for me, bar none, I think.
The beta 4. Oh, interesting. Yeah. I've been on beta. I haven't
really been sorry, I was just going to add that's why I have not really been reporting on it because it's like, well, might as well just wait till this thing is final and then I'll tell you what to expect.
Yeah, that makes sense. I admittedly have not been using beta 4 as much as I've been using all the previous betas. Because I have a different phone that I'm going to talk about later, the Pixel 5a, that I've been using as the majority of my time the past week. So I haven't had as many opportunities to run into those speed bumps as you guys have, and that is annoying when that happens. But it's a beta. It's meant for developers. But I will tell you that the beta 3 had this annoying bug on it where your missed calls would stay in your notifications forever, and like I'd want to clean them away and swipe them away, but they just stay there, they persist, and that's no longer there. So I'm happy to see that at least. That's one thing that they fixed. Anyways, yes, so more to come on Android 12. Super excited to see how that develops out as we get closer to the official release. Flo, you got the next one.
I do have the next one. All right. Our next little news piece is actually about something that you may have been reading about, which is Find My Network. We're not talking about Apple's. We're talking about Google and the Android ecosystem having its own. So apparently there's a dog-fooded version of Google Play Services that's revealed some details about Google's own Find My Network. Now, this would be specific to the Find My Device app, where you'll be able to mark a device as lost. And then once you do that, any other Android devices that come across it via Bluetooth will report it to the network, basically pinging like, woo, 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 this thing is lost over here. Also, this is going to allow the Find My app will allow you to do device sharing. So if you're sharing a phone with maybe your kids, or you just have a bunch of phones as part of like your small business, if in the event one of them gets lost, you'll be able to concurrently track it along with the person that usually uses the phone. So, how they say two heads better than one, that sort of thing. Also, there's going to be apparently there's some code that reveals that this is going to be a similar service. It's going to be offered within cars with Android Automotive built into them. So imagine the terrible, losing your car, but then being able to find it through an app.
Dude, where's my car?
Yeah.
That movie would be a lot less entertaining. Well, actually, it probably wasn't very entertaining. I never watched it, but maybe it would be more entertaining if it was tied around the Find My Device network.
I have a feeling it wouldn't. I don't know if that's really good comedy. But
dude, where's my car? And they just there it is.
My device.
Finn.
It's a short movie. Yeah, short movie.
Yeah, really short.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm excited for a really well thought out, broadly kind of implemented Find My network for Android. Kind of sounds like that's what Google is working on here. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, you can already track other people in your family, through Google Maps. So might as well be able to track devices. I'm very curious about this. So I pre-ordered Galaxy Buds. And they were doing an offer with basically get a Samsung tag for $5. Mm-hmm. So I'm officially going to go into this little whatever this network is, because apparently Bluetooth tags are cool again.
All the rage.
Apparently. It just took Apple to make a leather case for it. And now everybody seems to want one.
I remember 5-ish years ago, we had the sponsor Tracker on the network. It was all about this.
I still got my All About Android Tracker. Former sponsor of the network.
Yeah, I've got it too. And now it's just implemented into the OS. It's just the way things go. Eventually, it just all gets swallowed up. So, but very useful. And more useful this way, I would argue, than what a company like Tracker had. Tracker was great. But the only way that network is very usable is if more and more people there's a critical mass point that has to be passed for something like that to be truly useful, and it's way easier to see that critical mass being hit if it's an OS level thing implemented by the company that's creating the operating system to begin with, that it's just inherently in all of these devices and active. The way Apple's doing it and the way Google seems to be working on it. So, good stuff. I thought this was interesting. I haven't read any of the chapters from this yet. I think I'm kind of saving myself to read the book in its entirety, but there's a new book just released. Any fan of this show is probably going to enjoy this book, I imagine. It's called Androids, the team that built the Android operating system, by friend of the show, Chet Haas, who was on a few years ago. Cool. It's for sale. You can get it on Kindle. I got it for $9.99. I think you can buy it. I don't know if it's a hardback or not, but you can buy it in book form for, I think, $5 more than that. Apparently, Chet interviewed a bunch of early Android team members and Googlers, dozens, is the artitle that Ron Amadio mentioned. So
it is available in paperback.
Paperback, okay. All right, there we go. Hardback maybe somewhere down the line. There's no audiobook. I'm bummed about that.
Well, not yet. I mean, it's early. It is the number one bestseller.
Somebody does have to record it. The audiobook.
It is the number one bestseller in the mobile technology business category on Amazon. So
there you go.
Oh, yeah,
wow. I think it just released yesterday. So it's it's nice book full of tech nerd goodness, I would imagine.
And what I love is Amazon is so great. I scroll down and it's based on Androids. It suggests a book called Podcasting: How to Start a Podcast and Create a Profitable Podcasting Business.
That's a book you might need to read, Ron.
I'm really hoping to make this profitable podcasting business. I got to tell you. Oh, here, make money on YouTube. Oh, I feel bad for these people who buy these books. And then, all right, that's a whole nother conversation. Yes, I'm going to read this. I'm going to read this book as well. I'll probably buy the Kindle version, although this is a good time, by the way, to do a write-in. And maybe we'll talk about it more next week, but I'm in the market for a new tablet, everybody.
You should wait. You should wait a little bit, Ron, because I might have something for you in a couple of weeks.
Okay, maybe I'll wait a little bit. We'll talk about it next week. But my beloved Asus ZenPad, I didn't realize I was working on an app for work and I couldn't get it to install. And the developer I was working with was like, "What version of Android is it running?" I'm like, "Oh, 7.0." Then I was like, when was the last time there was a security update done to this? 2018.
Oh my goodness, yeah. This is the ZenPad 10.
Yeah, the ZenPad 10.
Okay.
So
we
while,
love this ecosystem. We love this ecosystem. We love this ecosystem.
So I'm pretty much ready to throw the old ZenPad into the river and then get a new one, but I haven't decided what yet. But we'll talk about that on a future show. That's a tease. So.
Damien, what do you do with an old tablet that is no longer good as a tablet, but it still works? Like, what would you do?
I know that you talked about it last week. You had a reader email
always
and
fun,
ask about asking using it as like a calendar. I really would love the idea of using it as kind of like the main control hub for all of my smart home devices.
Mm-hmm.
But I have an iPad, so I got the iPad Pro last year, and I'd never had an iPad before, and I can kind of see why people get tied in and stick with iPads indefinitely. But I use all of the Google services anyway, so that would be just as good to do what I do normally anyway with an Android tablet. So I thought I've really thought about my purchase over the last few months, and I'm thinking maybe if I could get, I don't know, something like a Galaxy Tab or a Galaxy Tab. I think the S7's the most recent one. Something like that would have been a lot of cheaper option to do all of the things I do on a normal tablet anyway. But I ended up buying the iPad, and I kind of don't regret it, but I also do regret it to an extent. But reusing an old iPad as a kind of like if you're not going to use it for content consumption, surely there's you can stick it on a wall somewhere or use it as a thermostat,
frame,
control your lights. I don't really know what else you can do.
Yeah.
What's fascinating about my ZenPad was that like I've been using it since 2018 as a reader for the Kindle app, as recently as like this past winter, and so it still worked. I wasn't doing much else with it, so like I could probably keep it and just keep it as an e-reader. But I have this fantasy of having the tablet and watching videos on it and reading comics and doing all that stuff. But at least now I need it for work, so that's another problem. But going back to the topic at hand, I'm interested in the fact that there hasn't really been any definitive business books about Android to date. Right. And I'm sure there are. I'm sure Amazon would recommend me several about how I can have a profitable business using Android. But like from a history standpoint, it does like being around for 10 years. I would think that there would be more books about it. And admittedly, I haven't searched. There could be, and maybe we just haven't discussed them. Right. But like it is interesting to see. This is like going back to the beginning, the Android 1.0 era, and like the team that built it. But like you would think that there'd be more books about the largest operating system in the world, right?
Yeah, or the history behind it. That's I think what is intriguing about this is it's everything that happened before Android 1, and Chet is just he's an institution within Android itself, and so he's such an entertaining, engaging person. So I have a really good feeling he probably has really good relationships with a lot of these people to get some really interesting nuggets. So it's probably full of a lot of information. And for everything else, we have Ron Amadio at Ars Technica to write the complete Android history from 1.0 and on. Maybe Ron will write a book about all this stuff, and the next one, and get in touch with everybody. I wouldn't be surprised to see that at some point.
Too funny.
But anyways, it's called Androids. Look for it, and I'll tell you as I'm reading through it. It takes me a while to read books, to be honest, but as I'm reading through it, I'll let you know what I think. We are going to, coming up here, talk about a little bit of hardware. Oh yeah, that loop gets me every time.
Sorry.
I love it. Any bumper worth playing once is worth playing 3 times.
4 times.
Just
I don't
make
know
a
what's going on.
track of
Autoplay
this.
is not set. Oh, it's
not
you know what
set.
it is? It's loop.
Loop will do it. That'll do it. It's okay. It's okay, Bert.
Edit.
It's or not. I don't really care. I like it.
Yeah.
It shows that you're human and you're not a robot, Burke. All right? It's cool. And, you know, it's hardware in and of itself. And we love hardware around here. And sometimes we get the opportunity to play around with hardware that just released, like today. I'm sure you saw this morning. All the NDAs lifted, and suddenly everybody was talking about the Pixel 5a, the next Pixel, not the Pixel 6. We still have to wait for that. But what we got this morning was the embargoes lifted for Pixel 5a with 5G. I happen to have it right here. I've had it for the past week. It's been my primary phone. You know, I even have this case, which...
I thought that was another phone, but that's just a case.
No.
I see what you did
there.
there.
That's the case. Yeah. And, you know, so as you can see, the phone
like
itself.
The little buttons. That's nice.
Yeah, little flashiness to it. As you can see, the phone itself, you know, is muted in color, same as the Pixel 5. I mean, it's a little different shade. The Pixel 5 is more like a dark gray blackish, and this is more, and it almost has like a faint green kind of hue to it. And then the Pixel 4a, you know, similar to the 5a. So very dull color scheming on the Pixel 5a, but Google makes up for it with their cases that are splashy colors. Just the problem is they're really kind of slippery. So they're not my favorite kind of cases. I think I'm so used to the fabric cases that are super grippy, you know? So anyways, that's not about the 5A. I'm here to talk about the 5A. So yes, you've got 5G support in here. The 5A runs $449. Now the 4A 5G, which I actually don't have, was $499. And I almost feel like that's the comparison, right? Is not to necessarily compare this against the 4A, because it's the same size as the 5A, the 4A 5G mostly. It's like slightly taller. It has 5G support. It's just more directly comparable to the 4A 5G. So $50 less than that. One of the downsides that you're going to find here, though, and I'm curious to hear what you think about this, Damien, is that it's only available in the US and Japan. So there's no UK, no Australia. Seems like a very limited release for a phone that I would imagine, you know, in the mid-range category, the A series has really impressed a lot of people and has a lot of sales. How do you feel about that? Like, what's your interpretation of that, Damien?
I'm on a personal level, I'm absolutely livid because I can't complete my collection of all the Pixel devices now. But I'll have to import it, and that will prove to be an absolute nightmare. It's a strange one because the Pixel 4a 5G it's kind of like that. Or last year, it was that perfectly priced, like, device in Google's lineup, even though the entire lineup just seemed to be a confusing mess at times. But I feel like the Pixel 5a kind of didn't have much fanfare, and it's like $100 more than the Pixel 4a, which I absolutely adore the Pixel 4a. I think it's just like a breath of fresh air compared to some of the other devices I've used. I'm sure like you guys use a lot of flagship devices, and you kind of get a little bit spoiled with all of the little extras and tweaks and things like that. And then the A series Pixels kind of like just brush away all of that excess and give you something that's just really cut back and streamlined and just has everything that you need, or that your perceived need is really like kind adjusted. And I'm disappointed that it won't come to the UK, but you guys in the US and Japan, I would hope that it will be a device to pick up. I'm sure there'll be some really good deals over the next few months leading up to the Pixel 6 launch, and then hopefully it will fit into that really nice like entry-level kind of position just ahead of the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro later this year. But yeah, I'm really disappointed it's not having a global rollout this time around.
Yeah, and I don't know if that'll open up at some point down the line or what the case may be, but very interesting to see such a limited rollout. You can pre-order today. It would be available August 26th. And I think what's interesting about the 5A is to start with what's the same and what's new, because I mean, really, when you're comparing it against the 4A 5G, almost all of it's the same, right? Snapdragon 765G, like I said, the design is nearly identical. Camera system is the same, 12 megapixel main, 16 megapixel ultra wide. It doesn't have a laser autofocus though, like the 5 does. So you missed that. I can't remember if the 4A 5G had that. 128 gigs of storage, 6 gigs of RAM. Those are the same. Headphone jack is still there. So Courage port for Mateo. If he was on, he'd be dancing in the streets on that one. 3 years of OS updates, 3 years of security updates. You know, at this point, it kind of doesn't make sense that Google isn't matching Samsung's 4-year update pledge, but there we are. This does have a charger in the box, but that's actually kind of a hot button topic because today we found out that this is the last Pixel phone to have a charger in the box. So that means that when you get the Pixel 6, you're not going to find a charger in the box. And of course, Google, you know, as Apple and other companies have said, this is about, in their words, this is about being green, right? Like I can't tell you how many chargers I have in my box, in my drawer or whatever, just stashed away. Like I don't need another charger. Having said that, I'm not the everyday user, right? Like I'm a tech reviewer. So I collect a lot of these things through the inherent fact that I have a lot of phones that I test and stuff. So it might be different for my dad if he goes out and buys the Pixel. He might expect to have a charger, and if he wants it, he's going to have to pay for it if he doesn't already have it. So I get both sides of that, and we've talked about that on the show before. So those are all the things that are the same. What's new? Well, you've got a larger 6.34 OLED display. Largest battery in a Pixel ever, from my understanding, 4680 milliamp hours. The 4A 5G had 3885, just as a point of comparison. It is the first A-series phone to be water and dust resistant, IP67, so that's 3 feet of water for 30 minutes. And then the power button, I mean, you know, the power buttons on all these are a little all across the board. The 5 has like a nice shimmery one. The 4A had a kind of a plastic flat one. Now it's like this beveled plastic power button. So there's not a whole lot different, right? Like it's just the display, the battery, the water resistance, and the power button are really the majority of the things that are even any different on the 5A 5G. You're not getting the high refresh rate, so no 90 hertz display. You're not getting wireless charging. You're also not getting unlimited Google Photos uploads. Remember that perk is done for new Pixel phones, including this one. And so outside of that, I mean, you know, I've been using it for a week. And prior to that, I was using the Pixel 5. And honestly, it's like the same. Like my experience is the same. The only difference actually that I could even, you know, tell about right off the top, and you can see it right now, is the fact that my Pixel 5 is running the beta of Android 12 and this isn't. So it's kind of like I stepped backwards in time a little bit. But the performance is the same. The camera's as good as ever. The display looks fine to my eyes, except the 60 hertz refresh. Like I do kind of notice that. I think my eyes have grown accustomed to the higher refresh rates at this point. So I really do notice it when I'm scrolling. I even did like a slow-mo record of swapping screens, and I could see how, you know, with every frame, it's just jumping in places. So, but you know, these are all little things. Like the battery life is incredible. Like it's a really fantastic battery. I mean, it's a much larger battery that's in here, so that makes sense. I guess I didn't expect, you know, fireworks and roller coaster rides necessarily. It's a pretty boring phone, but that's not a ding on it. And I think I say that with every A-series release, is that it's, you know, for the mid-range, it's not going to wow you or impress you with crazy features that you never knew you wanted. It's going to give you the features that you hope to have, but done really well. And I feel like this does that. So it's hard not to recommend it.
I saw a review. I forget which outlet, but it had described it the same way you just did, Jason, and that it's boring. Like boring, but good. You know?
Yeah.
Some people just want a boring phone. Like they just want a phone.
Yeah. I mean, you know, and I don't know. I guess I could see how that could be construed as like a ding on a device. It's just like I've reviewed many phones, and often when I get a phone, I'm like, oh, I'm so excited to try this feature, or like I'm pulling it out of the pocket and I'm like, yeah, this is the new phone. You know, like there's moments like that where little moments of joy in using it. And I'm so used to the A-series phones now that I guess the joy is gone, but that's kind of the point, right? Like it's a mid-range device that's just supposed to be good at what it offers, and it does that. So it satisfies my expectations. It may be boring, but it's also the mid-range phone that I recommend. So take from that what you will. You know what I mean? So anyways, that is it. That's the Pixel 5a with 5G. Pretty solid.
Too many fives. Too many fives. We gotta stop doing the 5G thing. Like just call it Pixel
I totally
5A,
agree.
right?
I totally agree. I was thinking the same thing. They could just get rid of that at this point. At this point, we're a couple of years into this whole 5G thing, and say what you will about 5G technology, but phones, most phones I'd say are supporting 5G now. Maybe that's an inaccurate statement, but that's the way it feels.
Yeah, I think over the last 18 months, definitely a lot more phones coming with 5G as standard now, even at the low end.
Yeah, even at the low end, right? In the mid-range, definitely. So at a certain point,
whether your
we can,
carrier
drop
has the infrastructure for the 5G is another thing entirely.
Totally.
You could be paying as much as I do every month and still not getting a SIM card that catches on to any towers because you just so happen to live on the edge of the 5G rollout.
But also, who needs the cell phone tower, really? I mean, you don't need that connection.
You know what? Abolish cell phone towers. It should be something else.
So there we have it. I don't have much more to add. 5A, Pixel 5A. It is what you thought it would be. There, that's the tagline.
That's good.
It is.
It's what you expect.
You know what? That's good. It's like that guy that you have on the back burner. You can go to him when everybody else doesn't work out, and you know exactly what you're going to get with him. Life.
Wow. I suppose so. And it's a tall drink of water, so it's very I think it's exactly what you're talking about, Flo. All right, that's my review. Flo, what you got?
Okay, I'm sorry about that metaphor.
Wow.
Don't be sorry. Embrace it.
Anyway, speaking of being hip and with it, I've got here blah, 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 blah. Last week, there was a huge Samsung event. I forgot that happened last week. And then this week, I ended up with this flipping phone. And I don't mean that flipping in the way you think I might be saying.
You got a flipping
this
phone?
really flips.
A flipping phone, Flo?
So, Flo, can I ask you before you get into it, have you been able to use the best feature of that phone, which is to angrily hang up on someone by flipping the phone closed?
Yes.
You have? Okay,
yeah.
Great. Was it with a family member or what? Tell us about the conversation. Why were you angry?
No, it wasn't. Well, admittedly, I haven't had a phone call yet, but I have, I've done some social media and dramatically just be like, I'm over this Instagram DM. And just done that.
But I mean, you have to hang up on someone. You have to be like, no, we're done. Goodbye. Flip.
Right. So here's the point I'm trying to make, Ron, which is that in 2021, our flip phone has changed. The meaning of the flip phone.
Oh, yeah?
Has completely changed.
How has it changed?
Well, like I said, now you can angrily hang up on an Instagram DM. If, you don't get that Pokemon in Pokemon Go, you could just hang it up. Stupid game.
How does the hinge feel? Is it sturdy? Does it feel secure? Like, what is it?
So it feels so sturdy, but here's the thing. Remember back in the day, we had our flip phones and you would get it and the flip phone felt like it came fresh off the factory belt. It was smooth and it was a fluid motion, but it wasn't loose. And you're just kind of waiting. You would wait for a little while for those hinges just kind of
wear down.
Sometimes you'd end up with a phone where the hinges would get too loose and then the darn thing just would never stay closed. Ugh. But I'm waiting for this to soften. And I tried really hard yesterday. I was taking photos of it for my review, which I'm working on right now for Gizmodo. And I was trying really hard to open it one-handed. And it takes effort, man. Oh. I do not have that satisfaction that I did back in 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
But it's actually kind of hard, by the way, to close it without the case the case that I'm using, which is the signature Samsung case they're releasing. It's a silicone case, fits it very well, and it has a little belt loop on the back, or in this case, this is a keychain, which you can kind of loop your finger through like a pop socket to hold on to it. So this case actually adds a tiny bit of density to it to be able to actually flip it closed. But without it, it takes a little pressure, which is just a further reminder that what is making this phone flip is not a hinge, as in the flip phones of yore, but it's a screen with a bend in it. And I'm very curious how this thing is going to hold up after a year of use. Because
always the consideration with the modern foldables, right? Whether it's justified or not, that is always on the mind of, I would say, the majority of people that either look at them or think about buying one, is like, how long is this going to stay okay before that fold becomes an issue?
It's a new form factor. And so I showed it to a couple of folks on video chat last week. And a lot of the folks that gave me the, oh my gosh, reactions were people who had iPhones. And I appreciated that. But then there were also a tiny subset of people in my life who saw this and were like, no, absolutely not. I will not go near it. I refuse. So
I'm first of all, I'm jealous because of the two foldables last week, the Flip was the one that I was really excited about. Actually, of all the announcements, the Flip was the one that I was like, okay, that's actually pretty cool. I love that they cracked the $999 price point, but I haven't had my hands on one of the. Oh, sorry.
But also, not only the price, but we were talking about in the pre-show is that with all of the incentives and stuff like that from the different carriers, you could potentially get the price on the Flip down to sub $500 to $499.
If you're trading in and stuff. Yeah.
With trade-ins on Verizon, they're offering up to $500 in rebates. Like they're like, yes, it's $999, but they're really trying hard to get it as close to $499 as possible. So
they want you to know, by the way, that you can trade in all your old stuff. Like they really want you to go around the house, pull up the couch cushions, and like look for any old tech you have around that you could trade in. So
right. You probably have something. So I'm curious, Damien, because you had some hands-on time with both the Flip and the Fold, right?
I did. Yes, I did.
What did you think?
I really like the Flip. I think the Flip is that's the pièce de résistance of the new the Z series, as I would say. But there's just something about it, like you said, Flo. You just kind of want to close it, even though it is a screen. So like the trying to slap it closed like you would, the wrist motion you'd use with an old folding flip phone. You just kind of go like that and slap it around. And maybe I was the only person who did this.
No, you can do that.
No. But I found that really difficult to do, and obviously the Samsung reps were like, "Please don't do that." And you can't do that with the Z Flip 3 very easily. The Z Fold 3 felt just. I mean, it's clearly a marquee device, and it's going to overtake the Note line, and that's going to be it makes sense for that to be the Note series moving forward. But the Flip just feels like it almost feels like a turning point for the potential for normal people to take foldables seriously.
Right.
I just hope that the battery holds out. That was my biggest concern. It's got quite a that's 120 hertz screen, 3,300 milliamp hour batteries. Just that's problematic for me.
I'm going to tell you, this is just problematic as a reality TV star and social media. All right. It's got some issues. I'm going to run the official battery test tonight after we get off the phone.
Goodbye. I'm going to hang up now. Going to set the headset down.
After I hang up. I'm going to run the official battery test tonight, see how that fares. But I am dubious because just from using it, I've noticed that the battery will shrink really fast, especially if you're watching video. And I mean, I've still got some benchmarking and things to do with this device. I love watching video on it, but I'm going to tell you, I barely watch video laying it out this way. In the
do you watch it on the front screen, or
I guess this would be the main screen. Let me turn it on the brightness just in case you can kind of see this. But I don't watch video in landscape mode, right? I watch it. Let's see if I can. Let me see if I can at least show you guys so you can have a little visual.
For audio listeners, Flo is fumbling with the phone.
Yeah. So here I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna launch Pluto TV for funsies, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit this hinge up. I was watching Pluto Romance last because I was watching.
Yeah.
So you watch it. So you watch
cool.
it in portrait mode, in the half screen with. Fascinating. As like a
Right.
So you
stand.
have the 90-degree hinge kind of. It's just awesome, isn't it? It just looks so. That convinced me straight away as soon as I saw that with the original Z Flip, and now this one's just kind of like taking it to another level. But that's awesome for like I've seen people doing it on social media where you can kind of have it at that 90 degrees to take top-down photos of your food using Instagram, and that or like holding the phone kind of like I don't even have anything to show you with it, kind of like that, and take the image like that and press the shutter button. That again, to me who is a lazy photographer, that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is like now I'm getting some pushback in the chat for going vertical, but let me explain.
Wow.
That because I don't, so I have really built my life around, and I'm kind of working out my thoughts on all y'all right now because there's a lot that I want to say about this phone, and I'm just not quite sure. Like I have no idea what what the thesis is of this thing because it's such a new form factor compared to what I've been using over the last 10 years. So I'm reacquainting myself with a flip phone, but it's a different experience from what I had back in the day in the early aughts. Like, because now I've got a full functionality device in my hands that also can convert in this fun little like pocketable size. By the way, this cover screen, it's like 1.9 inches now, super AMOLED. I mean, they really like beefed it up, and they put this little, like you guys can see, that's my camera right now. I freaking love this ability to be able to take a picture, like a selfie with these, with excuse me, let me start that over again, with the main cameras of the phone. But the bummer is that if my kid is running across, like she was the other day, oh my God, yes, we were in the grocery store and she was pushing the cart by herself. This tiny little toddler was pushing this giant cart of groceries around the grocery store because she's somehow like an Iron Man now or something. She's in a strong mood, but I could not open the phone fast enough to double press the power button and snap that photo or that video. So completely missed moment. I mean, I saw it in my memory, but
that's a good point, though. I mean, how many times do I pull the phone out and I don't need to think about unfolding? I just tap, tap, snap.
Versus here, okay, so I've got this OnePlus, the OnePlus 9 I've been using, right? I carry it around like this with my pop socket all the time. This is the way that I've sort of trained myself to think about how I'm holding this phone. And so I've developed all these maneuvers, and this is my fourth year using a pop socket. So I'm very trained on this mechanism, and it took me a long time to just get used to swiveling this, how I'm handling it in my hands. There's all these new, I have to evolve to use this phone. I have to evolve.
Well, it's challenging you. Yeah, I think that's a good thing. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's good for overall brain health. I'm getting up there into the elder millennial years. So it's good to keep me going. A little gym exercise here and there.
You elder millennial, you.
But in all sincerity, I'll obviously have more to say about it when I finally pen out the entire review. But this is a big decision to make before you switch to it. And I think that's also why Samsung's like, by the way, trade in your old stuff if you want to like try this out, because they really want to encourage you to try it out, since that's the whole premise of this release that they did last week.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So then you're working on the full review. That's going to go up on Gizmodo sometime soon. So everybody should definitely check out your work.
Pray for me
when that happens.
Tomorrow's going to be a very long day.
We know you can do this. You got this. All right. We are not done with hardware. We've got more coming up next. All right, Damien, you have, well, you're not wearing them in your ear holes right now, but you have for your ear holes the Nothing Ear ones, which we've talked about on the show in previous weeks.
I'm so fascinated. I want to hear all about this because
so tell us what you think about them.
I have yet to review them. That's what I'm going to say. I think that they look phenomenal. The case, I like the fidget spinner aspect of them. Unfortunately, mine has taken a lot of damage already. It's barely clear anymore. And the design of the case.
I have to say about the case, that's one thing that has stuck out to me is that it looks really, like the case looks really cheap. Like it looks like a little like throwaway plastic container that might, encompass, that you might have like breath mints in or something, as opposed to, but so maybe it's not. Maybe in person it's like, no, actually it's made with, thick, high quality plastic or something. But that's been my impression over the internet. I don't know if that translates.
I can kind of get why you get that impression. It doesn't necessarily feel as cheap as it looks.
Okay,
but
good.
The earbuds themselves, I've not tried AirPods Pro. I've heard from other people that they sound really similar to the AirPods Pro, which I suppose at $99, £99, €99 is going to be a good thing because obviously there's cross-platform support with the pairing Nothing Ear One app, and it's kind of like one of those strange things whereby are people who use multiple kind of platforms, are they going to want one earbud over another? And maybe that's why Nothing have targeted them. Again, it's Carl Pays from the School of OnePlus Marketing, so he's managed to garner a hell of a lot of column inches with what is essentially just earbuds, $99 earbuds that they sound pretty good. They're not the best earbuds I've ever used, but they do what they say on the tin. Basically, they are pretty solid noise cancelling earbuds at $99. That's it. That's basically, and that's how I would summarize them. The only downside, I've had a few issues with them at the moment, though, with regards to the charging and the case, because of the case design. It kind of lets certain aspects of it down, just because of the I don't know what they tried to go for it. They told me pre-release that this is essentially part of the design, the fidget spinner. There's like a dimple, and that holds the earbuds in place. And sometimes it means that the earbuds rock in the case and they don't actually align correctly with the magnetic charge portion. Which means there's been a few days where I've taken them out of my bag or of my pocket, and all of a sudden one earbud has 17% charge, the other one has 90, and obviously your left earbud goes dead, and then your right earbud, and that lets the entire package down a little bit. But overall, I'm struggling to give it a full seal of approval, but they're not particularly terrible. They're not particularly great either.
Okay,
that's basically it.
Yeah, for $99 with noise canceling, which active noise canceling at $99, I wouldn't expect that they'd be the most amazing noise canceling earbuds in the world, but it's a nice feature to have.
Definitely.
So I mean, yeah, it kind of sounds like $99. You could probably do a whole lot worse, but they're not like no.
I think the Pixelbuds A series, now they're available across the globe. I think they're a better companion if you use Android exclusively. The sound on these is probably marginally below the Ear One, but the Ear One doesn't get the same isolation as this kind of like plug design. So personally, I'm a fan of that because it can block out much more background noise without having ANC anyway. The ANC it's not too bad. It can kind of block out traffic drone, noises in the gym, that kind of thing. But yeah, you kind of have to set your expectations a little bit low. And I think that the drip feeding of all of the features and what they're going to change the industry and who's backed the company have kind of maybe elevated the product way above where it should be positioned. But it's not too. They're not terrible. They're not great. That's literally about as much as I can really say about them. So at least it's not nothing.
I'm still at least it's not nothing. I'm still fascinated that this was their first product, and also the positioning that this was like the first in a line. Like this was the entry point. Like if you want to be on the Nothing train, get these earbuds. But I don't know why. So I'm mystified by this entire company and their approach. So.
Yeah, and what this leads to.
I feel like there's going to be definitely some integration with like the smart home ecosystem, because they mentioned it in previous. CarPlay's mentioned it in previous interviews and things like that. So again, I'm mystified as well, Ron, in the sense that where does earbuds tie into that? Because there's no direct Google Assistant integration here, or Alexa or Siri or any of those. It's just a long press and it activates the assistant on your device. So there's not really much smart home integration as it stands. So I'm mystified as well to an extent. You've made me question my own thoughts about this product now. So thanks for that.
Well,
thanks for that.
It's a journey. It's a journey, Damien.
Yeah. At least you haven't finalized your review, because now that can all be part of the destination.
Just everything off the desk. Everything goes.
Delete, empty, start over again. All right. Well, thank you for that. Definitely a curiosity. I'm really curious to see how the company kind of progresses into whatever their vision is. Still kind of a little confusing to understand exactly what they're going for, with this being the first device especially. But yeah, still kind of intrigued to pop it in my ears and see what it sounds like, I suppose. But a little less moved to do so, because I love the Galaxy, the Pixel Buds, not the Galaxy, the Pixel Buds A series. Like, I'm really digging those. So for the same price, like, it would be hard to pull me away from those. It sounds like justifiably so. All right, let's check in on some apps. Let's do that right now. Why don't we?
If the bumper doesn't play 3 times, do we still talk about the stories?
Yeah. We don't
Right.
we don't talk until the bumper plays 3 times.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
It's like saying Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, you're good.
Some real quick app news. A long awaited feature is finally rolling out to Google phones. Call recording, native call recording, is coming to eligible Pixel devices worldwide. Will only be surfaced in regions where call recording is legal, because it is a privacy legal kind of thing. But Damien, you kind of wrote about this. For years and years and years, there have been call recording apps and things like that, and now it seems like I'm fascinated by the fact that it took 10 years for it to become native to within the operating system. But what do you think of the solution that Google's rolling out here?
I think it's the way that it's integrated into the application is kind of good for the regions where, unfortunately, in the UK it's not legally allowed. So I can't comment on how it works to an extent. But I think that if it's eligible, or you're in an eligible region, I think the way that they've integrated it is really nicely done. But like with a lot of Google's implementations of these things, it takes them a while, but once they get it down, it's usually kind of unobtrusive, really well integrated. And I like the fact that you can kind of have it auto-delete the files after a certain preset period. So obviously, even if you live in a region where you can record calls and they have to be deleted after a certain time period, or they're not useful to you, I kind of think that's a really nice way of doing it. It doesn't clog up your device if you have limited storage as well. But yeah, it's just nice to see that there's a toggle within the actual phone app for people to do that, rather than having to use a potentially sketchy third-party application where they might have to make in-app purchases, or they're connected to a cloud service where they don't know where the data's going. So yeah, I trust Google with that kind of thing a lot more than some of the third-party developers out there. But then again, there's going to be people who don't have an iota of trust in Google to keep their private conversations private. But I'm personally of the side that I would rather have Google doing that with their native phone app than some developer I have no clue who they happen to be.
Yeah, agreed. Cool.
Yeah, and I also wonder, is there any information as far as like, does this announce? Because I know with Google Voice there's recording capability, but it announces, is this call being recorded, that sort of thing. I wonder if that's
off the top of my head, I'm not sure. I'm not sure off the top of my head, Jason, but I think that potentially now I've put a noose around my neck, that I definitely think it could be.
Yeah,
but
I don't
like legally in some regions, because I think in California, like you're supposed to. That's why.
Well,
Zoom says it.
Yeah, no, that's my understanding of the law, at least like in California, is that someone, when the recording is happening, has to announce it. I think Google and like Zoom is another example of this. They sometimes go the extra step of taking that, making that someone not the person making the call, because often that person's not going to announce it potentially, but just baking it into the software itself. I imagine because they do it with Google Voice, I imagine it would also do it with their dialer, because they'd have the same kind of rationale and reasoning behind it to bake it in there, and it also covers their butt in case it's used for something and somebody gets in big trouble about it. At least then they're covered and they say, we did our thing. But it was just curiosity. I haven't heard either way whether it's implemented or not. But there you go.
There you go.
Yeah, I'd hope so.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want my calls be recorded and nobody telling me.
No, absolutely.
Although then again, they wouldn't garner any interesting information anyway. So,
but still, it's nice to know that somebody isn't recording your calls. Yeah, when you don't know. Yeah. Remember way back when, at least 2019, there was a driving mode that was announced coming to Google Assistant. It took a while, but it happened earlier this year. Assistant driving mode began to launch, at least I don't know if it's like a full launch or if it's a preview or what, but I've certainly seen it in Maps, and I actually kind of like it, the way that it's in Maps currently. I appreciate it. It's nice to have the audio controls kind of suddenly appear down there. So I've gotten kind of used to it. But there was a stopgap app that was created along the way. It was really, in the way that Google itself is just really good at confusing people. They created an app called Android Auto for phone screens because Android Auto wouldn't work on the phone. But then they created this app that's basically like a shortcut to allow it to work on the phone until the assistant driving mode launched. Well, some users are now reporting that app is not working. So it seems to be the case that Google is kind of moving towards fully removing Android Auto for phone displays and favoring assistant driving mode on devices, which, on one hand, great, they're doing what they said. On the other hand, there's a lot of people pushing back and saying this assistant driving mode is like a fraction of what Android Auto offered. And I just thought this was interesting as like a talking point. Like, Flo, it sounds like you have thoughts on this. Like, what do you think? How do you feel about this?
So I haven't used it in its current implementation just yet while behind the wheel, but I did use the trial that they were showing at Google I/O in 2019. Remember those times? And I remember just being really not on board with what they were attempting to do, because the idea of it was that you just have this like one long screen of commands that you can kind of paw at, but that the primary way to interact with this is with your voice. However, when your car isn't rigged to work with voice commands and what you're doing is just commanding the phone itself, the phone is also working with like all that atmosphere going on in the car. And I found that if it's too loud, if I'm driving, like I'm driving, I'm on the freeway.
Windows down, right?
Even without just like the windows down, just trying to get, the assistant to hear me and to actually carry out my command, it's very frustrating. And then it's like, well, what is the point of this? I guess we'll just, do whatever you're going to do. So, and the other thing that I just quickly want to bring up is that now that I've used Android Auto in the car and on my phone in my car, I have noticed kind of the differences between the two, but at the same time, I still have that like same UI. So I can go from either car and I know exactly how to use it. But this one just feels like, so is this what you're showing me right now? The driving mode?
Yeah, this is the driving mode. And when I
take back what I said. This actually looks a lot like Android Auto currently baked into the car with that dock at the bottom. Right. And then like the full page.
Yeah, and you've got your little, kind of your mic for assistant commands. You can hide that if you want, and it kind of shrinks it down. You have very limited controls. Like sometimes I wish I had like a skip back 30 seconds for listening to podcasts and stuff. But you don't have that down there. And then you have your more apps, which gives you kind of like your quick shortcuts and everything. I mean, it's totally different, right? Like, I mean, there are features that are similar to what you got in Android Auto, but it is really... I don't know. It seems so incredibly just tied into maps. The only way that you really get it is by navigating somewhere. You know what I mean? Whereas I think Android Auto kind of stood on its own outside of maps. It could be an interface that didn't require you to navigate somewhere in order to integrate with it, or interact with it.
And I kind of liked that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, some people really did. I mean, I went really back and forth with Android Auto on my phone. Like I wanted to use it more than I actually ended up using it. So at a certain point, it was like, don't lock me into this UI because I want to do this one thing, and I probably shouldn't be doing that one thing, but that ends up being the reason that I turn it off and I never ended up using it again. This, I use maps when I need to navigate somewhere. Obviously, I'm using maps all the time, and having that suddenly just appear in the maps interface is nice. It's usable. I find myself using it a lot. But I can understand how for a lot of people, this is like small potatoes compared to what they used to have.
Sigh.
Maybe
I'll use it and then I'll let y'all know how I feel about it. Because the thing is, this would be what would replace my car's dash, like the Android Autos in the family car, which is not, it's not my car. So it's not the one I usually drive.
Not everybody's balling quite like Ron with Android Auto in his vehicle.
With my wireless, with my AA wireless, which is pretty awesome. So, yeah.
What about you, Damien? Do you have a whole lot of, do you have any kind of experience or interaction with it?
I do not. No, I'm trying to actually cut down on my driving, but I did manage to try Android Automotive fully last week in the Polestar 2. I had that for a week, and I can kind of understand why people will be really annoyed about the direct integration in this way. Right. Because kind of like you can't force it off, if that makes sense. Like having the separate Android Auto for your phone is kind of nice in the sense that you can kind of separate it and not have to worry about, I'm not used to this navigation kind of screen, and having all of these applications confuses things. So I did used to use it previously, when it was a standalone app for a little while, just after it launched, I think, for a few months. But then I'm a little bit like you, Jason, in the sense that I found it a little bit kind of discombobulating, and I was like, I'll just stick to the maps that I know and have it on a dash, kind of like a dash arm for my phone mount and things like that. But unfortunately, I don't have a car with a Android Auto head unit, and I probably won't for a long time. So I'm kind of holding out and hoping that my next vehicle will have Android Automotive and be in its own separate thing. But I can see why people are annoyed about the assistant driving mode. But it probably is a natural progression in the grand scheme. I'm sure that Google will have looked at the numbers and thought, well, we'll just integrate it there and make it a little bit more accessible for everyone without really having to do too much.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of data behind any move that Google makes, even when Google makes moves that, tick a lot of people off, like Inbox or whatever. There's probably data behind that. Like, I doubt Google's just like pulling a note out of a hat and saying, well, I guess today we're going to kill Inbox or we're going to kill Reader. There's some sort of data behiine that decision.
Don't underestimate it, Jason. I mean, all these years of following this stuff, like I too want to believe that Google is making data-based, data-driven decisions, but sometimes it feels like someone's throwing a dart at the wall.
It does. It feels that way for sure. I hear you. Yeah. All right. We're going to get to some of your emails up next. AAA at twit.tv, 347-SHOW AAA. And Flo, you have the first one.
Oh, my goodness. We've got a first email today. It's been a while since I've read one of these. Hey, by the way, remember that you can send us an email at AAA at twit.tv if you have something you'd like to say. And we're still taking voicemails. 347-SHOW, AAA. That's the number. All right. So this first email comes from Chris Walters, and Chris writes in, regarding the question about playing white noise through a Nest Hub, there's no reason to pair your phone with the hub. Simply say, hey, G, play white noise for 10 hours. Done. I do this every night in both kids' bedrooms and my own. enjoy. Chris is right. Also, one of my favorites, by the way, is Rainy Night, and then there's also Forest Sounds.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was in relation to, or related to last week's email of the week. Oh, I'm sorry. I threw it off.
There we go.
I want to be, full disclosure. I had to say the word. Stephen Miller.
Dirty.
Sorry, it's just the way it goes, man. You got to be on your toes. It's going to hang out with us.
It's true. Gangsta.
Steve Miller wrote in about his white noise app, which is the white noise app that I actually use as well by TimoSoft. I think it's called White Noise Pro or whatever. Anyways, connecting to his Nest Hub, and at 3 or 4 in the morning, every single morning, the white noise just completely stops and it wakes him up. And so he's trying to figure that out. So this is in response to that, which is a great alternative, except the TimoSoft white noise app has tons of different white, you find the app that works for you. You want to use the app, and it used to work for him through the Nest Hub. He sent a follow-up email that I read today. It used to work fine, and then suddenly it just stopped. Suddenly every morning at 3 or 4 a.m., it just stops playing the white noise and can't figure out why. So that's frustrating. I could totally feel you. But
make a suggestion?
There's an alternative. Yeah.
For this.
Absolutely.
If you really, look, these app solutions definitely work in a pinch. I really do appreciate that the smart displays and smart speakers, all the different ecosystems, they'll offer some sort of ambient, sound mode to kind of help you with whatever you're dealing with. But if you really rely on white noise, pink noise, blue noise, that kind of background, just get yourself a white noise machine. I know it's $40.
Yeah.
It kind of puts you out.
It's even cheaper. I've got 2 white noise machines in my kids' rooms, and
exactly
Lex Sound or something like that. It's on Amazon.
Well, there's this brand. Yeah, the Dome is the one I use for Mona. It's spelled DOHM, but there's other brands that make it. I read the reviews before you buy.
Oh yeah, that's great. We have those too. Yeah.
See, you've got already 3 people telling you to just get a white noise machine if this is something that you really rely on. Just saying.
Because there's
totally
digital white noise, which is what we're doing when we play it through a speaker, and then there's true analog moving air white noise. And what you're talking about, Flo, that's my favorite one too. We've got it in a couple of rooms as well.
It's a natural fan-based sound. Yeah.
Well, and we tried a lot of stuff with Mona, and then as we tried it out with her, we realized that it benefits us as well. So
totally. I love sleeping to white noise. I'm converted. Yeah. And that wasn't the case before we had kids. Yeah. There you go. All right. So thank you, Chris, for that suggestion. That's a good tip that a lot of people might not have known. Jeff wrote in to say, I watched Jason's coverage of Samsung's new products. Great job, Jason. Thank you. And I'm liking the new Galaxy Watch 4. I currently have a Galaxy Watch 3, and I'm wondering if the apps and watch faces on my current watch will work on the new watch. I was unclear about the relationship between Tizen and the new operating system, which happens to be Wear OS 3, by the way, and whether or not I would have to start over with apps if I get the new watch. So I'm curious on this. I think the answer is relatively obvious. Tizen and Android are not compatible operating systems. So if an app is made for Tizen or a watch face is made for Tizen, it's just operating on a different code base than Android is. So I think the easy answer is no, they're not going to work. I think the question that I have is, are those developers of those apps that you're used to, of those watch faces that you're used to, are they going to offer them up on the new version? And that's a really big question mark. I don't know what they're going to do. I imagine if they're big name developers, yes, you're going to see that. If they don't already have it, because it's Wear OS, so it's the Android based one, and I imagine a lot of the developers would have made their app for that anyways. But certainly there are certain developers that just created for Samsung's Tizen devices, and I think you cross your fingers and hope that they redo their app so that it works on the new watch. And I'd say it's probably pretty likely that a lot of them are going to do that. You just might have to wait a little bit for it, but yeah, I looked around for an article or an interview that specifically said that, and I couldn't find it. But it's pretty pretty cut and dry. Tizen and Android are not the same thing. So
yeah, we were chatting about it actually this afternoon between the three of us, and I think Jason, you and I were like, we don't know if the complications that were introduced in Wear OS, they're called complications, which is why I can't remember them ever. If those translate over to Tizen and what Samsung did over there, because I have all the watch faces on my gear, on my Galaxy Galaxy Active, but I don't know if I'm gonna be able to use them if I buy the Watch 4.
Yeah. I'm
trying to think if that's the case. I think some of the pre-installed ones that you might be used to from the older Galaxy Watch series are already pre-installed on the Watch 4 and Watch 4 Classic. But I'm not sure about
that makes sense.
If you downloaded them from like the Galaxy Store, I'm not entirely sure at all, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah. I guess that'll be interesting because anything in the Galaxy Store for wearables has been in there as a Tizen, as a Tizen app. Now you're going to be going to the same store. Like, I don't know how Samsung's going to choose to surface that. Do they have two separate downloads on the same entry, or does one entry say this watch face in parentheses for Wear OS 3.0 or whatever? I'm not sure how Samsung's going to do that, but I think ultimately it will be incumbent upon the developer to make the choice to actively develop this thing that they made for Tizen for Android so that you can get it over there. And I think a lot of them are going to choose to do that. I would imagine so anyways, but yeah, there we go. I just put through an order for the Galaxy Watch for Classic, but the 40 is it 42 and 46 millimeters? I went with the smaller one. I did go with a smaller
42,
one.
46, and then the other one's like 40, 42, 44 or something like that.
Yeah. So yeah,
I'm excited.
So I'll get that soon.
I'm excited. We're gonna have to do like a whole segment on. Now I haven't pre-ordered any watch yet. I'm gonna wait just a tiny bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's do it. I'm game.
It'll be all about watches. All about watches.
Yep.
All right, and that brings us to the moment you've all been waiting for. It is the email of the week. Thank you, Burke. And it's funny because this week's email of the week actually taps into something we were just talking about earlier in the show, which is great. We didn't even plan that.
Yes, indeed.
James writes in and says, from episode 537, Wes wanted multiple tablets to display only the calendar. Wes should try the fully kiosk browser and app lockdown app on the Google Play Store, also on the Amazon App Store if he wants to use Fire tablets. As long as he can open the calendar from a web browser, the app turns tablets into a kiosk where it will go to that web page only and can turn the screen black after a set time and use motion detection to turn it on. There you go. And that's pretty cool. It's a pretty good solution. There's a cost for a Plus license upgrade to get motion detection and some other features. And of course, pay your devs. So, yes. But James further says, I personally use the fully kiosk app on a Fire tablet with action tiles as a smart home control center mounted on the wall to control lights, smart plugs, and view outdoor cameras. So, Damien, there you go. There's a tablet converted into a smart home controller. Yeah.
Yes, James is a sensible gentleman, and he knows exactly what he's talking about. Yep. I've never heard of that application before, but that sounds phenomenal.
I mean, it sounds like exactly what we're looking for last week, and then also what you were talking about, Damien. I mean, and to have the motion detection baked into it, that's what I love. It brings it full circle because we were talking about, like, I guess you got to get Tasker and you got to set this up because any of the motion detection apps that I was finding are all tied into like security cameras and not like if motion then launch this app or show this web page. So this is perfect. I mean, I haven't used it, so I can't speak to it on a personal level, but I don't need to because James did, and apparently it's awesome.
So if you've got a tablet laying around and you want to convert it into a calendar, or you want to convert it into a smart home controller, seems like this is the way to go. It was funny because we're trying to solve our calendaring, solution between me and my wife and the kids and schedules and all this sort of stuff. And my sister has an elaborate whiteboard system in her kitchen where she has four whiteboards mounted to make a square. And 3 of them are the month we're in and the next 2 months. and the fourth one is just like miscellaneous notes, and she rotates the whiteboards as the months go by, which is a great system, but it's very analog. And I'm like, there's got to be a digital way to do this. And I've been getting Facebook ads for this thing called Hearth, which is a vertical oriented touchscreen display that you can mount on your wall and import calendars and things like that. Probably more than we need, but it seems like if you have a Asus MediaPad tablet laying around the house, and you want to throw a calendar on there and limit, kind of other people going from it, fully kiosk browser and app lockdown app is the way to go. So thank you, James. It's very cool, and this gives you the email of the week. All right.
Hearing you talk about converting old tablets makes me realize I was just down in my den, which slowly over time has become a collecting ground for all randomness in our lives. And so I was trying to kind of clean it out and everything. And I found at the bottom of a box, I found the Walmart on tablet. And I was like, what can we do with this? And so here you go. The problem, though, that I realized with that tablet is that the display, it's not a glass display. It's a plastic display. And it was at the bottom of the box. So something was on it. So the display has like these little like creases in it now.
Oh, cool.
Like, dang it. Just created e-waste. Yeah, don't feel very good about that. But anyways, all right, we've reached the end of this episode, and just in time because Damien is about to die from lack of sleep.
No, I'm absolutely fine. I'm absolutely fine.
Well, we really appreciate. Yeah, we really appreciate you coming on and hanging out with us and spending some of your late night with us, Damien. It's always a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you.
No, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's good to speak to you guys. I think it was a year since I'd last been on, so
yeah,
I feel like a stranger.
About right. There you go. Yeah. Well, we'll get you back on sooner. Do you have anything that you're working on right now that you want to tell people about, and where should they find all the work that you're doing?
You can find most of the work that I do either on 9to5google.com or on the associated YouTube page. I can't really talk about some of the projects I'm working on right now, but I do have a big Android automotive kind of deep dive in the next few weeks that I've been working on for a couple of weeks already. But apart from that, no, there's nothing. I would love to tell people about certain things that are coming up, but unfortunately, I can't divulge that. But if you just tune into YouTube and to the website, then you'll see everything that I post on there, and hopefully you'll enjoy it, because not everybody enjoys everything you put out there if you read your own YouTube comments.
Don't do that, though. That's just a recipe for disaster. It's never worth it.
It's never worth it, is it? No.
Well, thank you, Damien. That's a lot to look forward to right there. He's working on stuff that he can't tell you about yet, so you're going to have to follow him to find out exactly what it ends up being. Appreciate your time, Damien. Thank you again.
No problem. Thank you.
And Flo, what you got going?
Well, I kind of teased it a little bit. Obviously, there's a article to look forward to from me about this Galaxy Z Flip 3. That'll be up when it's up. You can find that out by following me on Twitter, or you can bookmark flowrights.tech, which is my author page at gizmodo.com. Last week, I also did a... Sorry, smoke alarm just came on with me. Hi. What was I saying? Right. I was shilling my wares. Yes. Last week I did a mechanical keyboard review. I actually looked at Razer's got these new keycaps that you can easily put onto any mechanical keyboard. So if you're interested in that, you can go check that out. That is one of my beats at Gizmodo. But other than that, see you guys next week.
Right on. Thank you, Flo. Good to have you back. And thank you, Ron. What do you want to leave people with?
You're welcome, sir. You're welcome, sir. You can go follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at RonXO. And if you're into pinball, go check out in the Google Play Store the Scorebit app. That's SCORBIT, where you can track your pinball scores and find places to play pinball. We're working on some cool stuff that's going to be coming out very, very soon around playing pinball with friends and things like that. So stay tuned there. But go check out Scorebit. It's scorebit.io on the web.
Do it. Scorbit is awesome. All right, thank you, Ron. Good to have you back too. And good to have Burke in the studio. Good to have Victor, not in the studio, but editing the show and turning it all around.
Hi, Victor.
Hi, Victor, and hi, Burke. I do Tech News Weekly on this, every Thursday, twit.tv/TNW with Micah Sargent. And Micah's actually going to be out of town next week, so I'm going to be doing Smart Tech today in his absence. So I'm really looking forward to that. Always kind of changing and shifting around and filling in and everything. So just check out twit.tv and you'll find me all over the network. Don't forget twit.tv/clubtwit. This is our club. It's going awesome. We have so many people getting in the Discord. It's a members only Discord. So many people subscribing to Club Twit because either they want our shows with no ads because we offer up individualized feeds that don't have the ads included in them for Club Twit members, or because they actually like the ads and they just want to support the network, and that works too. So we appreciate it either way. Also, there's an exclusive Twit Plus podcast feed that has lots of extra content, pre-post show content, some extra content that we create especially for Twit Plus members. So go to twit.tv/clubtwit and you can check it out. $7 a month and totally worth it. That is it for this week's episode of All About Android. We do this show every Tuesday evening. So, just go to twit.tv/AAA, subscribe, and you won't miss a single episode. And that means that you'll see next week's episode when it appears in your feed. We'll see you then on All About Android. Bye, everybody.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you are interested in checking out all things smart home and Internet of Things, then you should check out Smart Tech Today, the podcast I, Micah Sargent, do with my co-host Matthew Casanelli. It's all about the smart home and improving your automations.